go there.
You are a technocrat. I mean, you can speak to whether or not it was appropriate or inappropriate for that to occur. Would you have done that as a permanent secretary?
Politicians get the information from wherever source that they can.
That's going to be the extent of your answer.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
There's a lot of noise around the data protection bill that, in my respectful view, is not warranted.
I was one of those making noise, and it's simply because I was concerned about that specific Section 33.
Don't go there.
Are you going to be offering yourself up as political leader of the party?
I see you've called me here for much more than diplomatic passports. I don't mind that.
Don't go there.
What is the relationship like between you and your leader, Dr. Mitchell, your boss, Dr. Mitchell?
I'm not sure how to explain how to answer this question at this time. I prefer not to answer.
Don't go there.
They said that you approached the bank for the loan before the election and that it only materialized after the election. There are also conflicting reports around the quantity of monies that were received. What is the reality here?
People try to extort the truth and to make all kinds of things about it. I just stay quiet. So if you notice, I was really and truly quiet about the whole matter.
Well, except with not with the New Today newspaper. The New Today newspaper reported on this, so I'm not sure you were quiet on this. Go ahead, Honorable. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just trying to answer your question, right?
Don't go there.
I think we just spoke at length about the regularization framework. So
yes, we did. But let us talk, Prime Minister. Let us talk about the workers who are dismissed.
The Bub Report. We go there.
Tell us, a commissioner of police, tell a politician, back off. You have no knowledge of the law. You have no knowledge of law enforcement. You cannot force my officers to do the wrong thing.
But that is somebody's son. That is somebody's child. That is part of a family. And I think that is the part that they are missing out.
Because E and F are apt to be used oppressively.
It's like because we don't see disabled people as sexual beings, which is ridiculous.
You mean they don't want to listen to your version of science? They have their own science. You have your science.
What we need to do is teach people to think and not what to think.
Today, it's too bad that everybody do what they want.
If I could forgive Bernard Ford, then I could forgive Bob Morris too. And today, on this day, I no more have anything in my heart for what he did.
The education system has to be very fluid and dynamic because we're living in very different and changing times.
Treating all your citizens equally, all your citizens fairly, recognizing each group, not discriminating against one or the other.
Hello, everyone, and a happy Sunday to one and all, and we welcome you to this week's edition of the Bub Report. I am your humble host, Dr. Kellen Bub. We're happy that you can join us this week, and as is usual, you know the drill. Do us a favor by liking and sharing this week's program. Of course, do let us know where you're watching the show from. I know that there are many Grenadians in the diaspora who are currently in Grenada for the diaspora homecoming, so we trust that you're having a wonderful time. And I know that perhaps some of you who regularly watch the program may not be here this morning because you're up at the Monk Morris breakfast that's happening up at Monk Morris this morning. I believe they're having a special Monk Morris breakfast in observance of this year's inaugural diaspora homecoming. So if you are in fact watching us from Grenada, let us know. If you're watching us from the diaspora, let us know where you're watching us from. And we're very excited that you can join us for another edition of the Bub Report this week. Now, before we get into this week's program, as you saw last week, we did have a conversation with the Global Petroleum Group, that exclusive interview that we did with them on the state of energy and hydrocarbon in Grenada. We did reach out to the government of Grenada, and they did indicate by way of one of the representatives that they will be speaking to the Bub Report in the future. So please look out for that conversation when it comes around, because I think it's important and critical that the people of the country have some sense of accounting as to what has transpired with respect to the Global Petroleum Group's contract and what it will mean for Grenada's economic development. Now, I was not confident that I got all of the answers that was asked last week, but we will keep doing the work of attempting to get those answers forthcoming. We do have in the room, we have Lydia Louison, who is watching us. We have two Lydias in Canada. There is one Lydia James, who is in Toronto, and another Lydia Louison, who is in Montreal. And then we have Keisha Bristol, who is joining us from Brooklyn. And we also have Anika Charles, Elnisa Charles. I'm sorry, I butchered your name there for a second. I do apologize for that. But welcome to this week's edition of the Bub Report. So folks, what we want to do is to get straight into this week's editorial. And this week's editorial is titled "The Venezuela Earthquake, a Warning for the Caribbean." Now, the June 24, 2026 earthquake was actually two separate ruptures, a magnitude 7.2 and a magnitude 7.5, that occurred just 39 seconds and 5 kilometers apart in northern Venezuela, just 90 miles away from Grenada, killing at least 900 people, as well as injuring thousands more, while causing widespread building damage across the region. Now, the quakes occurred where the Caribbean tectonic plates grinds eastward relative to the South American plate along a multitude of faults. But they didn't really surprise many seismologists and geophysicists. They have seen them coming. In a 2017 study in the journal article Tectonics, seismologists studied the slip rate of one of the faults within the plate boundary, the Bocono fault, going back thousands of years. They found that the fault had not ruptured since a devastating magnitude 7.1 earthquake that occurred in 1812, that is, that destroyed most of the city of Caracas. So this is not the first time that Venezuela is experiencing a magnitude 7 earthquake. That also occurred back in 1812, and it leveled Caracas. The death toll from that 1812 earthquake was also in the thousands, upwards of close to 10,000. Now, this means that strain had been accumulating on that fault for 2 centuries. The resulting slip deficit, they estimated, was enough to produce a magnitude 7 to magnitude 7.6 earthquake back then. Now, Marshall Higgins, a geophysicist at the Florida International University, agrees that the area was overdue for an earthquake, although he notes that earthquakes are impossible to predict. But whereas Ahmad had worried about the Bocono fault, Higgins and his colleagues believed that the neighboring fault, the San Sebastian fault, was also primed for rupture, having been partially locked since 1900s. According to their calculations, which they presented just last week at a conference organized by the European Space Agency, the accumulated strain meant the San Sebastian fault was capable of rupturing with a 7.1 magnitude earthquake. And that sadly came to pass last week in Venezuela with a double earthquake. Of course, folks, as you know, some of you may or may not know, there is a very vibrant Grenadian diaspora in Venezuela as well. Many Grenadians, including members of my own family, because my grandmother immigrated to Venezuela in the 1950s from Grenada. A lot of my cousins still live in Venezuela. My aunt, I have one aunt and 2 uncles there as well as a multitude of cousins in Venezuela. So we were worried. Thankfully, they are safe. But there are many people of Caribbean descent in Venezuela who have not been so lucky, especially in cities like Barquisimeto in the western region of Venezuela, which is a very heavy heavily Afro-Caribbean descended population of people there. So, but the warning here for us in the Eastern Caribbean is that we are highly susceptible to the types of earthquake that we saw in Venezuela. One striking example was that of the Trinidad earthquake in 1766. Although the population was small in Trinidad at the time, the effects of the earthquake were devastating enough to cause the inhabitants to petition the King of Spain, because Trinidad was still a colony of Spain at the time, to allow settlement from other non-Spanish Caribbean islands, including Grenada. And prior to this event, there was another major earthquake in Jamaica in 1692 that resulted in the deaths of over 2,000 people and destroyed 90% of the then capital, Port Royal. So folks, this is a warning for us that we have to be prepared. Building codes must be in sync with the damage and the destruction that these earthquakes can do. And of course, we also saw what happened in the context of Haiti as well. That was another tragic earthquake that occurred there. So folks, what we want to do, we'll take a quick break and come back for the first segment of the program. Please stand by.
Should your loved ones pass on, they deserve to be treated with dignity. And at S.A. Johnson Funeral Home, we can provide you with that service. We can take you every step of the way during your sorrowful moments. When that need arises, call S.A. Johnson Funeral Home at 347-777-9797. That's 347-777-9797. S.A. Johnson Funeral Home is a Caribbean family-owned funeral home here in Brooklyn, providing funeral services, but in a dignified way. From cremation to burial to the repatriation of your loved ones, you don't have to go through the hassle, as we provide exceptional service that allows you to mourn and heal peacefully. For more information, visit our website, www.sajohnsonfuneral.org. Send us an email at sajfuneral@aol.com or call 347-777-9797. S.A. Johnson Funeral Home, because you deserve to be treated with dignity.
And folks, welcome back to this week's edition of the Bub Report, and we will get straight into the first segment of the program. Now, Caribbean American Heritage Month is celebrated every June to honor the rich culture and history, as well as the profound impact of Caribbean immigrants and their descendants in the United States. It recognizes the rapidly growing population of over 13 million Caribbean Americans who have fundamentally shaped American society from its founding. Now, the month is also dedicated to specific objectives, which is recognizing the historic contributions of Caribbean Americans. It also highlights how Caribbean Americans have built and helped shape and guide the United States from its founding father, Alexander Hamilton, to trailblazers like the first Black Congresswoman, Shirley Chisholm, and the Secretary of State, Colin Powell. And folks, as we said at the start of June, we were dedicating the first segment of our program to Caribbean American Heritage Month, and we will be concluding our celebration of Caribbean American Heritage Month with a Caribbean American author that we'll be celebrating on the Bub Report this week. And we now welcome our first guest for this week's edition of the Bub Report. We have joining us today Mrs. Jennifer Jean-Francois. Mrs. Jean-Francois, welcome to this week's edition of the Bub Report.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on your platform today.
Yes, absolutely. And the reason why we decided to invite you is because you are a published author. You're a Caribbean American published author. And we're here to celebrate your recent publication. We do have many Caribbean authors in the literary space in North America. But before we get into the conversation about your book, which I think is such an important book, especially for young people, let us talk about your Caribbean American heritage. Where in the Caribbean do you hail from, and what does Caribbean American Month mean to you?
So my family is from Grenada, both of my parents actually. And so they have been, there's so many things running through my head. I apologize. So
Yeah, no, that's
basically,
okay.
you know, so both of my parents are from Grenada, like I said. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. And I feel like because of the fact that I have both the Caribbean and American aspect, that I am able to shine and be able to provide different resources and things like that to the people in both America and also Grenada. And I think also that the reason why I'm sorry. I'm a little
You
nervous
go ahead.
today. I apologize.
No, don't be nervous at all. You're fine.
I was slightly nervous also. I apologize. So basically, you know, what being Caribbean means to me is that in my household where I grew up, like I said, with my Grenadian parents, they taught us about, you know, being humble, being hardworking, exploring our faith, and making sure that no matter what we do, faith is behind everything, right? Just making sure that we're passionate about what we're doing. And if we're giving back to the community, making sure that we're able to do so from a fundamental standpoint, and also just making sure that we stay true to our Caribbean heritage overall.
Absolutely. So, Mrs. Jean-Francois, what inspired you to write this book? Now, the title of the book is Blueprints for the Future, How Black Innovators Shaped the Tools of Today. I believe this is a very important book because in the context of us as people of color, you know, celebrating what we do, celebrating our accomplishments, celebrating how we have shaped the world by way of invention, I think is so important. So let us first and foremost talk about what inspired you to write this book.
So funny enough, I had no intention of publishing a book at all. That wasn't even on the list of things to do. Back in 2025, early 2025, I was thinking about how to be impactful to schools from a Black History Month perspective, right? And so the initial thought was to probably just do like some backpacks or some notepads or something that had like Black innovators or just people who were influential from a Black perspective on the bag or in a book or something like that, and maybe some candy, something along those lines. But then I didn't want it to be centered specifically around Black History Month because quite frankly, I'm Black 365 days out of the year, you know, so I just said we have to kind of shift that. And in talking to my team or with my team, we started to just brainstorm and think about different ways to be impactful to schools and then just the communities at large. And so that's what birthed this book, Blueprints for the Future, and how innovators shape the tools of the world today. And so what we also wanted to do is add a fun aspect to it, which was I introduced a booklet first before the book came out to one of the schools that I partnership with. And so what we decided to do is to have the robotics and also the art students, they're like in 5th or 6th grade, just basically draw some art or come up with some invention on their own to see if they can explore their curiosity. And so the winner would win a Chromebook. So of course, everybody was elated and they got excited. And so it got so much of a well-rounded response that we couldn't pick one winner. We wanted to do one winner, one Chromebook, but couldn't do that. The artwork was just something that I was completely blown away by, because I remember in 5th or 6th grade, I was probably drawing like stick figures, not like, you know, real figures that, you know, would represent Black history and what they actually read in the booklet. And so, you know, that whole booklet is what birthed the book itself, because I realized that the response that was received by the school would be something that would be more impactful to schools and just communities at large overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is so important. Let us talk about, again, as I said in the lead up, Black inventors. You know, you never hear about Black inventors in mainstream media. You never hear about Black inventors in mainstream history books. But Black inventors do exist. When we think about things like the GPS, that was invented by a Black person, right? Everybody takes the GPS now today for granted, but that is something that a Black person invented. But you know, you have to ask yourself, well, why don't we hear about it? So let us talk about the importance of young people, the young people that you work with, seeing what is possible in themselves for what people actually did.
Right. Just in general, I feel like representation matters, specifically for Blacks overall. And I just even remember just growing up, like you said, we didn't learn about like somebody creating the GPS, or even I used to play Atari, like those games specifically, that wasn't brought up. The elevators that we take, microphones and things that we utilize every day. I had no idea really that Black inventors created these things. So it's really important. It was really important for me to showcase just some of, because there are a slew of inventors that are out there that we probably still don't know about as well. But I wanted children to realize that the things that we utilize every day are things that, some Black people have invented, and that they can actually spark their curiosity and figure, well, if they did it, I can also do it too. What problem can I solve? How can I improve something that already exists? And no matter what they do, even if they're not an inventor, just realize that they have a voice, and that no matter what they do, they can still be meaningful and have an impact in the world overall.
And that is so important, and I say to folks, I say to my students here, in the context of the Caribbean, like the role models that we see are all Black. In the context of Grenada, the Prime Minister is Black, the Governor General is Black, the police officers are Black, right? And so you never grew up with that sort of representational deficit, meaning that you see these folks every day, so much so that we take it for granted, right?
We do, yes.
But let us talk about how impactful that is, especially in a society where young Black people, they don't necessarily see, young children, they don't necessarily see those folks and some of them maybe do now. It's slowly changing, but how do you hope this book will contribute to young Black students seeing themselves in the book?
Yeah, sure. So this is more than just introducing Black readers, or I'm sorry, Black inventors. It's basically to spark their curiosity and creativity and thinking overall. And what I love about the book, and this is one of the reasons why I created this specific portion of it, is that once you read every chapter, there are thought-provoking questions that will allow them to think, okay, how can I create something? What can I do to contribute to something that's already being done, or something that I can improve myself, or actually just create myself for the betterment of the world? And I think that once they realize that they can do that, and they just take a look on the inside of themselves, they will be able, I can't even say may, they will be able to do it. They will have the confidence to do it, especially like you said, we'll see like a little bit more representation, and help them to learn or know that they can do whatever it is that they want to do, whether it's being an innovator or not.
Now, very, very important, very, very important. And where can patrons purchase the book? I was able to get my copy already.
Yes, and thank you for your support. Patrons can get the book on Amazon. It's $12.99 on Amazon, and they can also learn about it through Jane Noel's Powerhouse Solutions, which is my website. And if they go there, they also see like all the wonderful things that we're doing to give back to communities and things of that nature. But primarily right now it's on Amazon. The goal is to get into other bookstores, so we're kind of working on that as well, into Black bookstores first.
Very, very important. I know that there is a Black bookstore in New Jersey. Someone told me about it, but I definitely have to visit that one whenever I'm in that area. Yes, and finally, Jennifer, fondest memory of Grenada. What do you remember most about? I'm sure there are many, but
there are
is there
many.
Something
that
there
really
are
many,
out?
and the thing is, I just really quick, I remember like being a kid and hating to go there because like your parents are forcing you to go. But now I go there much more than before. Like every other year I'm going there. But in any event, I love Grenada. I love the beaches. I love the people. I love the vibe, the culture. But I think my fondest memory would be basically going there in 2024 when I had my first family reunion. Just being able to see everybody come from the different areas, in New York and Jersey and DC and just Maryland, everywhere, and just being there with the family, connecting. It just brought that sense of, family ties, which we have all the time, but to have it in one place was just a beautiful thing. And in that beautiful country, it just blew my mind. So that's my fondest memory.
Yes, absolutely. Any final thoughts before we get to the next segment?
Just final thoughts overall. I hope that whoever purchases the book, you enjoy the book. You let me know what you think about it. Again, it was created to just make sure that people overall can spark their curiosity. It's not only about children. I have people who are 90 reading the book. My grandmother looked at the book who's 101, and kids that are younger. So it's a book for everybody, a book for everyone to explore their culture, to explore Black history, and just have a little bit more knowledge of what's out there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for appearing on the Bub Report this week.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Yes, absolutely. Viewers and listeners, that was our very first guest speaking about her book, Blueprints for the Future, How Black Innovators Shape the Tools for Today. And, this is good work, again, by Mrs. Jean-Noel Francois, really speaking about, her quest for ensuring that, young people can be appreciative of Black contributions to the world, because quite frankly, especially in the education system in the United States, if you don't attend an HBCU, quite frankly, there is a lot of Black history that you miss out on. That's one of the reasons why I'm absolutely grateful that I attended the Howard University, the Howard University, where we were able to really bring Black representation alive in so many ways. So, folks, what we want to do is to take our second break and come back for the second segment of the program. Please stand by for that.
Should your loved ones pass on, they deserve to be treated with dignity. And at S.A. Johnson Funeral Home, we can provide you with that service. We can take you every step of the way during your sorrowful moments. When that need arises, call S.A. Johnson Funeral Home at 347-777-9797. That's 347-777-9797. S.A. Johnson Funeral Home is a Caribbean family-owned funeral home here in Brooklyn, providing funeral services, but in a dignified way. From cremation to burial to the repatriation of your loved ones, you don't have to go through the hassle, as we provide exceptional service that allows you to mourn and heal peacefully. For more information, visit our website, www.sajohnsonfuneral.org. Send us an email at sajfuneral@aol.com or call 347-777-9797. S.A. Johnson Funeral Home, because you deserve to be treated with dignity.
Hi, everyone. The Bub Report is committed. Hi, everyone. The Bub Report is committed to being fearless, balanced, and independent, bringing you the stories that matter most without compromise. Now do us a favor. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell so you never miss an update. You can also watch us on GBN TV every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Catch us on WPG10 television every Sunday at 8 p.m. Your support helps us to keep journalism free from bias and influence. And together, we can make sure every voice is heard and every fact is verified. Thanks for watching.
We seek the truth.
Would you be handing your resignation to the Minister of Culture tomorrow, sir?
No, I will not.
The leader of the opposition, you have accused your government, sir, of using the Grenada Development Bank to facilitate the financing of personal loans for certain government ministers.
The other side is in no position to talk about those issues, and I will leave it there.
We discover new perspectives.
You know his leadership style. And so many are saying, why are you coming now to talk about those issues?
Now is the time to speak. You have the right to decide who will take over.
And you met with Dr. Mitchell, and perhaps you might want to confirm what that meeting was about in your response. But
Dr. Mitchell, like myself, are Grenadians.
We ask the right questions.
Why was there no report on the work done of the commission? And how is this new committee different from the commission that was initially established back in 2022? So who are these elements that are using you?
I'm disappointed in my political leader.
And why is that animating those political conversations now?
This is a very interesting question.
The Bub Reports with Dr. Kellon Bub. Thought-provoking, truthful, unbiased, and truly original reporting.
And folks, welcome back to this week's edition of the Bub Report. Now, before we get into the next segment, we will in fact be having a conversation on Fisherman's Birthday, which is a marquee cultural celebration for Grenada, but especially for the town of Guave. And we will be speaking with one of the founders of the Fisherman's Birthday celebrations, one of the organizing founders of the celebration, and a member of the Fisherman's Birthday Committee. Of course, last week we heard that generated some public discourse with respect to proposed changes that the community of Guave were not happy with, those proposed changes. So what we want to do for that segment is to really have a conversation about the culture and tradition and memory of Fisherman's Birthday in Guave and why that is a cherished cultural institution. And I say a cultural institution not only for Guave, but for Grenada as well. Now, before we get into that conversation, the Nutmeg Alliance. So the Nutmeg Alliance, which is a nonprofit here in the state of Maryland, they are proudly announcing the first ever Grenada Day celebration. The first ever Grenada Day celebrations that will be carded for July 18th, 2026. And the press release from the organization is as follows. So let me pull that up here. But for those of you who are in the DMV, even if you're not in the DMV and you are in Brooklyn or you're in Delaware or you're in Virginia, this will be a time for you to participate in the inaugural Grenada Day celebration that will be happening here in Maryland. Now, as we know, here in Maryland, we do have a significant Caribbean population that lives in Maryland, but of course, folks tend to think of the diaspora only of a certain city in the Northeast that I'm not going to name. But so part of the press release says that this event will intend to have authentic Grenadian cuisine as well as Caribbean delicacies, including a oil down championship competition. There will be cultural exhibits highlighting Grenada's rich history and traditions. There will be live music and cultural performances, local artisans, entrepreneurs, as well as vendors. There will be fresh spices, tropical flowers, agricultural showcases, wellness and historic demonstrations, youth and educational exhibits. There would also be an interactive kids zone with family-friendly resources. So the organizers are saying that Grenada Day in the DMV, which stands for the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. So that's a very unique geographic distinction. The District of Columbia, Maryland, meaning the Maryland that surrounds the DC area. So it's called the DC suburbs, as well as the Virginia suburbs. So if you're not within that area, then you're not considered DMV. But it's an opportunity for Grenadians who live in the Maryland suburbs, those who live in the District of Columbia, as well as Northern Virginia. But all Grenadians along the East Coast, they're invited to come and celebrate Grenada's remarkable contributions to Caribbean culture while highlighting this, this dynamic event. It will be an inaugural event, and it will be taking place in Annapolis, Maryland. It will be happening in Annapolis, Maryland. If I can just pull that up, it will be at 109 Burns Crossing Road. Sorry, not Annapolis, in Severn, Maryland. And from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on July 18th, 2026. And it's been put on by the Nutmeg Alliance, which is the registered nonprofit who is doing that amazing work. They've done a lot of fundraising activities over the last few months, and it will be a good opportunity for those of you in Grenada well, not in Grenada, but Grenadians here in Maryland. And if you're visiting from Grenada as well, it will be a good opportunity for you to participate in the inaugural Grenada Day that will be happening here in the state of Maryland at Burns Crossing Road, 109 Burns Crossing Road in Severn, Maryland. Next week, we'll be having a conversation with one of the organizers or two of the organizers who will be giving us more details about this upcoming event. So folks, what we want to do now is to get on with the second segment of the program. And we are now joined by Mr. Arthur Houston. Mr. Arthur Houston, sir, welcome to this week's edition of the Bub Report. It's good having you. This is your first time on the program. So it's good having you here, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning to your viewers and listeners.
Yes, absolutely. And Mr. Houston, before we get into the full-throated conversation about Fisherman's Birthday in Guelph, we do want to first and foremost talk about Fisherman's Birthday as a cultural staple, not only for Guelph, but for Grenada. Let us go back down memory lane a bit and talk about why the Fisherman's Birthday was conceptualized in the way that it was conceptualized, and which essentially has now become, as I said, a cultural staple in Grenada.
Well, Fisherman's Birthday in Guelph is a community event started within the Catholic Church configuration. As you may know or may not know, that Guelph St. John is a diocese of St. Peter in the Catholic diocese thing. So,
yes,
by virtue of that, the church in Guelph
the St. Peter's Catholic Church. Yes,
right. So, St. Peter and St. Paul's are the patron saint of the fishermen. And out of that became the Fisherman's Birthday. Over the years, up until 1979, it was a church service, procession to the lands, blessing of boats, sailing, aquatic events, swimming, fishing, the whole works. In 1979, after the triumph of the revolution, the government then decided to make it a half holiday. In doing that, it shows the nation the respect that the government then had for fishermen and the value they put on it, the industry then. Because at the time, Guelph is always known as a fishing mecca, as a fishing capital. So the government gave the fishermen that added chip to celebrate that day. Over the years, they've been up and down in the quality of the celebration. I got involved in 1982 for the first time, but at a minor role. In 1985, people approached me and said, look, this thing is getting out of hand. Can we do something? I had a committee together called the St. John's Development Committee. And that was the first time in 1985 we had a week of activities showcasing the industry, showcasing what the fisherman goes through to earn a living, showcasing the benefits, the economic benefits of the community and the sector, fishing sector. There were always fight on, and people always feel that you should not be there, you should be there, and who doing this, who doing that. I stepped away in 1990. Again, people came back to me some other time and said, look, this thing came back. I said, look, I don't have this time for all these things. But the takeaway in that, Fisherman's Birthday has always been celebrated in Guelph. So it's always a national event, and that got the national event on par with Spice Mass, on par with Carico Regatta, we has been a national festival. However, everybody came to Guelph. After a while, I think somewhere in 2000, 2001, other villages that have been a little bit more upscale activities, because they all came to Guelph and went back to the villages. In 2001, 1999 was the worst I've ever seen. And that's where I was asked again to come back. And I said, guys, here am I this time. I do not want this fight down and this backbiting. And so we had a lovely celebration in 2000. We brought in foreign artists and lived the standard. Because you see, there is a connotation in Grenada that Guelph, like confusion, the cost. They have the worst thing to say about Guelph. So when I came out with a website, the first website in the Caribbean that promotes a town was to throw that myth out the window that we are educated. We might be
because there are many educated. I mean, Guelph has produced so, and Guelph is such a storied place in Grenadian history. You cannot talk about Julian Fedon without talking about Guelph. So that's just one part of it, but there's a lot more. Go ahead, please, Arthur.
No,
I get passionate about that because my grandmother.
I know. I was about to mention that. Yes. No, but people over the years has looked down on us, and we have tried to show them that although they have us, and again, it shows its ugly face this week because they have us in this Jacks mentality. These are Jacks people. And you listen to them when they speak. And I try to tell them, let me remind them that Governor Melville, on the 10th of February 1764, changed the name of Bastia to St. George's, Grand Pove to Victoria, Guelph to Charlottetown. You know what we did? That was never used by us. And to this day, legally, it is Charlottetown. That is Dong Street. Guelph remains our capital, out of defiance. And I see people now taking chances. They're taking a lot of chances with what is our livelihood. We just came from a fishing ban where our fisher folks was making zero money. And the day when they should be celebrating their birthday, you come with some new rules that makes no sense. Let's look at historical facts. Years ago, there was a larger fire brigade in Guelph, very much larger, that could have passed to the back street. There is a smaller one now. Look at the time when the new bridge was being built. Everything was diverted through central government state. There wasn't an issue of crowding in the street because there was no bridge to pass. Now there's a dual lane on a bridge to pass. But again, I come back to it that they want us to treat us as Jacks people that go in the bay. The police, in their high-handedness, saying to us now, go to the gas station. And I'm saying, are these people thinking you want to bring 6,000 people who are smoking, drinking next to a flammable gas station? I am wondering if they really sit down. I'm going back again. I gave them a plan in 2000 of keeping Edward Street clear. That's no parking. And I went around personally, spoke to every neighbor who had a vehicle, and found place for them to park the vehicle. We brought a record, we encouraged the police to bring a record involved so that others who didn't get the memo will know there's no parking on Edward Street. There's a parallel street to the back. A fire service truck was placed in Victoria and one in Guelph, Southern Northern, because the main thoroughfare would be blocked from all day until 1 o'clock in the morning, 1 a.m. And there was a plan and people knew what to do. Now, all of a sudden, it's pure laziness. And I'm realizing that Trump-like attitude of lying for people and making up stories. However, I Show Speed came to Grenada. There was no application to block tongue. It was done. Who done it? Housewives of Atlanta came, tongue was blocked. But me pigment and jacks in Guave does not require that kind of respect. And it will show, it happened again. It was put out in the media yesterday that the coroner should be blocked. And they happen to reward it. But again, I don't want to sound too controversial when you got power.
But let us talk about historically, because you've served on previous fishermen's birthday committees in Guave. What was usually the modus operandi when the committee went about making plans for fishermen's birthday celebration, inter alia, especially when it came to logistics? Who sits on the committee historically? I'm not sure if you know who sits on the current committee now, but just full disclosure, we did invite a member of the committee to appear on the Bub Report today. In fact, she said she was going to be joining the chairperson of the committee, who said she was going to be joining us. But the point is, I'm just trying to understand, in the past, when the committee had to make any type of critical decision, how was the overall community involved in that process?
Okay, when the Guave Improvement Committee was formed and legally registered in 2000, with the assistance of Lloyd Noel and the then MP for the area, Clarice Charles, they are the ones who help us get all the legal things. Lloyd Noel did all the documents gratis, and we organized the celebration long in advance with all, and Kellen, I went so far to get a diploma in event management just to make sure that we were doing things right. So we went along, planned our activities, and we met with the police. I mean, I honest with you, there were objections sometimes, and we explained to them, we always had a plan B, here is how it will work. Because many times, and we have empirical evidence, policemen come to Guave to straighten Guave. And they come with an arrogant attitude. I mean, just sit them down and say, hey, we are the nicest people, the most accommodating people in the world. Our population is made up of St. Patrick's, St. Andrews, St. David's. They come for Fisherman Birthday, Carnival, Easter, Christmas, and they stay because we are nice. Anyhow, we plan all our activities, meet with the police, give them a blueprint all the time of anything they come with, whether it's traffic, security. I mean, that was dealt with. We used to have a bonfire on the lands. 3 years ago, high-handedness. The police make the committee move the bonfire from the lands to Dong Street. Historically, while we are one Guave, there is Dong Street, Chinatown, and the lands Guave. We are different in culture, in makeup. In one, you have Negro and African heritage and architecture thing. Dong Street, you see Portuguese architecture and French design. We are different. And it's a new generation. But DNA, it had to come out. So we always had a blueprint to hand it to them. And so in the past, the police has always worked with us until 3 years ago. We start seeing this, I am the boss. And if you notice, every time something happens, there's one face that shows up with a narrative to bramble. Because there was never negotiation. Nobody, and during my time, we never applied for permission from what I see they have to do now. I don't know what changed because I've been withdrawn from public life. And especially since 2016, I don't take part in anything. I'm just by myself. I notice now you have to apply, which no problem. However, in the past, Fisherman Birthday, a national event, similar to Spice Mass. The power that Spice Mass has, Fisherman's Birthday has it. And as chairman of the Fisherman's Birthday Committee, and in many instances, I was both. I was both chairman of Spice Mass, chairman of Government Improvement Committee. So we had a wonderful discussion with the police. But in recent time, you have to almost succumb to them, beg them as little children, while others don't do that because it's that mentality. And they cannot refute that because I could show them clips and I'm good in archiving. I could show them clips and
that you're very good at that. This is true.
Yeah.
but true to form, there was the backlash was immediate. Again, true to form with Guav, that is the spirit of Guav. Resistance, rebellion, pushback. That's just in the DNA of Guav, right? But and the backlash was immediate and swift. Go ahead. You wanted to add something.
You see, when you look at Guav, we are rebellious because people always want to push us. Things they don't do anyway. Anyway in greater they want to do to Guav people because in their mentality, we are nobody. We are Jack's people. And I have to repeat it because when they say go in the bay and have a show, with the commissioner of police and his deputies dress and go in the bay in Grenville or Granans or Piti Bakai, anyway, for a show, with them, you see the things they want to do, people, it shows how they think of you. And that is why Guav will always push back. Because we are the others. We came from a history where we will speak up. You know why? Our Guav dollar is different to anybody dollar. We make a fast dollar. The sad thing is that most of our constituents who are fisher folks are not, well, in the past, were not highly educated. Now we have a new group who went to secondary school, come out with a subject, but chose fish because they see dignity in it. But the rest, there's a segment of Grenada who want to eat a fish, but don't want to respect the fisherman. And once you don't respect the fisherman, it will show in your Trump-like attitude. And that's all it is, Trump-like attitude. But we have proven in the past, we have proven that we will always win. So this year, they say, go down the road. And the police always do. I'm not bashing the police. My father was one of the most respected policemen in Grenada, Inspector MacDonald Thompson from Barbados. I came from a sister in my family with a police, a brother-in-law who was a police. So I don't bash the police. What I don't like is the attitude towards Guav. I give you another scenario in Guav. The police said no parking in front of Lower Deporting Street by the Republic Bank of Guav for security reasons. Yet the police turn around and put a bus stop, a taxi stand next to the communal cooperative. I said, well, these people are not thinking. They're not thinking. It's knee-jerk to certain things that who their friends tell them or who they listen to. And I'm saying, I'm not bashing them. It's the things that they do. And you're wondering, how do they think? Fisherman Birthday historically has been on the streets. And for the last 26 years, there has been a stage on the street. After Hurricane Ivan, we saw the biggest crowd. And then we put up a bigger stage. Why? We moved from 4,000 that year, 2005, when we saw 10,000 people on the street. Where would you put them? Down by the gas station to smoke, drink, blow beton with the one truck you have involved, and you have to wait 45 minutes for one to come from town? Avoid that. Let the thing stay so. Walk around. You see, I don't see policemen the beaters before, and that's the problem. The community. I was a former chairman of the Police Citizen Advisory Board when it now started. And that's the problem. They don't walk, they don't beat the streets. The relationship with the community is not there. Because you could walk around and keep Edward Street clean of traffic, of parked vehicles. And there'll be 2 policemen stationed at the corner of Hillsview and Edward Street, and it intersections with Upper Depredin. A policeman at the corner of Boykes Lane, Edward Street, and Langton Road going back to the Lands Bridge. And you're having a smooth flow of traffic. And once Grenadians see that record, they know what time it is.
Yeah.
But instead, you know what the police do? They bring up 16 busload of policemen in greens. And that's reality. You see, I'm a very observant person. Anything I'm cheering, I just walk away and just walk around and take notes to see that where I'm going wrong, to mitigate against it for next time. And in many instances, I see those shortfalls and I call and say, why? We already discussed that. I knew that was coming. I'm from Guav. I know the area. I know the culture. Listen, you tell somebody in Guav, do not put that there. They will try you. They will try you. They will put it there.
They will.
You know,
they will.
I mean,
They certainly will.
Yeah. So if you have the police in that space, and all you need is 4 policemen, 4, with a radio. At one time, when they had not much radios, we were looking at the possibility in 2002 to buy radios for them to make life easier. Right? Then they got some, within that period, they got radios because our Guav citizens in the diaspora has always been willing, and they have been sponsoring things to a level. And we always get support. So we say we get some radios for them so they'll communicate better. But in this instance, the committee met with the police. There is a police on the committee as a member, and he's trying his best, but he's only a corporal. And he gets orders from the top. Who is the top? I don't know, because I don't think the commissioner make that decision, because it is signed by somebody for the commissioner. So he goes through a process, you apply for this. And then once it's go off, it takes 2 weeks before you get the answer. I have known cases in Grenada, which I've been part of committees, when a phone call would get passed. Or a letter goes in, and so I send a letter. The letter goes in, and you get passed. But every guy in Guam will tell you, and I've been doing my research, when they apply for something, it takes a long time, and maybe rural areas. Did you have to call the station? Is it passed already? No, not yet. We have to respect our people much more, and do not put us in a clique that you think is beneath. It won't work, because this is a sector that, when I was involved in the fishing industry when I spent 19 years there, we were contributing more than $20 million to the economy. Peter Martin has taken over now. But you have to respect a national festival. You cannot come and say high-handedly, that can happen, and your alternative. But Andre has to look at that, because what you want to push us, so you bring in a bottleneck in the center of Guam, instead of putting it at the top or the bottom. Well, it's a no-no going down in Lower Depredin for most of us, right? And the Guam improvement has always been discussing traffic with the police. So where is last minute change coming out? You know, Kellen, let the police give you facts that they are the least murders in Guam. How much murder for the year in Guam? The last year, the year before? The most the police should tell about us, we're loud. So they might make an arrest for 2 persons causing some dub, F sharp, and G minor. But beyond that, we are peaceful town. There's no gang in Guam. We're not like that. We have, listen, there are things I see happening in Guam, and I hate. I hate it in that I am seeing a trend with young deviant behavior from young people, drugs increase. I feel bad. A lot of them consider me uncle. They respect me. I still thank God. Some of them still have respect, and they will listen to me. When I saw at one time Neil Chaitan was begging to go into Guam, and we tried, but we didn't get his support. But he went up in the end. And if you ask Neil Chaitan about Guelph, it is one of the most wonderful place to work with.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
there are some people that think that these people don't deserve any respect. and it reached a stage now where it's almost political. And that is one subject I've made a vow.
Not to participate. Yeah,
I don't know that. I'm a political.
And that is unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that everything in Grenada is now politicized. You can't even wear you can't wear a yellow or a green something without it being interpreted as political. And I make no apology for that. I don't care who you support. I quite frankly think that there are certain things that should transcend politics, period. You know?
But let me tell you again, Kellen, you know Guelph people make citizen arrests? Ask the police in the past.
Well, in fact, Reese is saying here, Reese Sam, who is such an avid fan of Guelph, if she's from Guelph, she's saying we are civilian police in Guelph. We take care of things. When people come to Guelph and fight, we arrest them and bring them to the police station.
Of course.
Police don't have work to do in Guelph. Their work now seems to be cut us down. Well, for some, it's always been the agenda.
And that's how we see it. Until they change the MO, we will think otherwise.
Yes, absolutely.
Treat us as how you treat the folks in your region. Because we're not seeing that respect in Guelph. We're not. And until we see, then we have trust. Now, you notice, in all what happened, there has not been vandalizing or anything of a violent nature.
No.
The Guelph of the 60s, that couldn't happen. You know why? The education level was different. We have much more educated fisher folks now. They would argue they still love, because listen, I studied in Taiwan, and I'm sitting on a harbor, and I'm listening to some men talking. So I asked my interpreter, I said, what am I saying? He said, I can't tell you. It's because they're cussing. That's what they know. That's all the best. When it comes to adjective, that's the go-to word. And you get it in Guelph, boisterous, because the dollar in your pocket. Listen, to be poor and have money in your pocket, it makes you very loud, Because a fisherman who makes, for the weekend, he comes home with $3,000-$4,000 in the pocket, you ain't telling nothing as you want.
Yeah.
So there's a loudness to it. However, the loudness should not be interpreted as stupidity. And that is what happened. And disrespectfulness.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
The tongue of Guelph has historically risen to the occasion. So they will get away with it this year. They may do it for 6 months, 4 months, a year, 2 years. But Guelph has always won. Because we are resilient. You see, let me tell you again history. During the Nicholas Bradford administration, the Guelph fishermen blocked the harbor. Because we had fish spoiling, nobody listening, and every attempt to talk to government went unheard. So every boat went down with fish, rotten fish. It was thrown in the fisheries division, and the rest was going through the complex. But they avoid that and listen to the fishermen, because there are things called, if you know, you grew up in Guelph, there are things called the Jackayan. Let's not go there. No, but it is sad that a national festival could be twisted and turned to somebody's. And listen, and it's not a political party, the minister not involved in that decision making, which I think she should, because as our chief leader in the constituency, once the problem came up, there should have been an intervention. Not giving orders, because the police may not respect General John, who is a regular young lady teaching in St. Rose, so maybe they don't see her teaching in Guelph, maybe she should teach somewhere else. So they didn't get that respect is not there. So maybe the minister got involved from there on, asked all to come together, let's do this, let's do that. Maybe we might have prevailed. But let me say myself.
Well, you no, this very important conversation, Arthur. We do have to get to the next segment, but you know, for the folks who don't know my background and history, Arthur, would you tell the folks who my family is in Guelph? Because people, when I tell people I have Guelph roots, they say, "Nah, you always talk about St.
Wilfrina Williams and Mabel Williams, grandmother and auntie."
Correct, grandaunt. My grandaunt Mabel. In fact, I would go up to Guelph with my grandmother of blessed memory every Saturday. Every Saturday to go up to visit Mabel, and Mabel lived next to the Anglican school. Correct, you know, and Mabel also had a sister by the name of George. You know, so I have Guelph roots. Maybe that's why I'm so loud. Maybe that's why I'm so loud as well. But let's quickly get to some viewer comments for you, Arthur. We have Anthony DeRiggs here who's saying, Dr. Bub, you mentioned in the spirit of Guelph, and that goes all the way back to the days of Julian Fedor. Remember where Governor Home was captured and killed at Fedor's camp, Guelph, where the name Charlottetown never stuck, and you mentioned that, Arthur, as well. And he said that town produced so many brilliant people, Dr. Dunstan Campbell, Dr. Kendrick Lewis. We also cannot forget the late Sir Paul Schoon.
And Sir Carlisle Green.
You know, Sir Carlisle Green, you know, Clarice Charles. I'm going to mention Auntie Clarice, you know. So many
George
people.
George
F. Houston. And of course, the great Karani James. You know, Grenada's first history-making Olympian. Came from Guelph, you know. So Guelph has
Leslie
Hutchinson,
rich Leslie Hutchinson. And all the business people that are in St. George's, the Lacroix, the McIntyres, they all came from Guelph.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
most of the business place in town, because there was a trend back in the 40s and 50s, educate your children to not go under the cocoa. So they were sent to town, they boarded in town, and they made a name for themselves. But every one of them I call, Victor Wade, Mac Barnett, Mayfors Mac Barnett, they're all buried in Guelph. So Paul Schoon said to me, Arthur, make sure nobody bury in town. Make sure that it's a fight in the church. Bury me where I'm from. Because a proud thing about us, we always say that local saying in Guelph, if we bury overseas or in town and we wake up Judgment Day, we might remember the place. But we can't forget Guelph. Goyy Guelph.
Yes. Mr. Austin, yes, sir. Thank you so much for appearing on the Bub Report this week.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Absolutely. Viewers and listeners, this is the Bub Report. Somebody saying yes, Mr. Prudhomme. That was Sir Eric Gary's Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Herbert Prudhomme of blessed memory as well. He's a Guelph man too. Yes, you know, so many distinguished Grenadians, you know, call Guelph home. You know, and somebody, Richard Holson, is saying, Arthur, Guelph is a great place. Remember the days when we the Carnage players come to Guelph and play football. We always remain in Guelph after the game. Let's see here. We have another comment from Undefeated Abraham Hussein. Guelph people have always been stereotyped in a negative way. I live in the USA and worked in a very prestigious hospital. I met a doctor from Grenada. He asked me which part of Grenada I was from. I proudly said Guelph. The man started saying things about us that I can't say here, but I had to put him in his place, as you should, as you should. Let's just say that unbelievable. Yes, you know, people have these, and I think a lot of it is rooted and grounded in colonial attitudes. You know, is this class-based colonial attitudes that continues to permeate in Grenadian and Caribbean society. You know, it's still there. It's still there. Colonial legacies are still there. We have biases against Nigerians and people who we share ancestral DNA with. We hate them more than we do the people who colonized us. We want to be closer to these people who colonized us than those that we have similar cultural DNA with, right? As opposed to the people who colonized and oppressed us. Everybody wants to speak in a proper, quote unquote, proper English accent, but don't get me started on that. Let us take a quick break, folks, and we'll come back for the final segment of this week's edition of the Bub Report. Please stand by for that. Hi, everyone. The Bub Report is committed to being fearless, balanced, and independent, bringing you the stories that matter most without compromise. Now do us a favor. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell so you never miss an update. You can also watch us on GBN TV every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Catch us on WPG10 television every Sunday at 8 p.m. Your support helps us to keep journalism free from bias and influence. And together, we can make sure every voice is heard and every fact is verified. Thanks for watching. And folks, we welcome you back to this week's edition of the Bub Report. We are very excited and happy for the next segment, in fact. And for this segment, we'll be featuring a Grenadian cultural icon, a Grenadian legend, someone whose contribution has been etched and continue to be etched in Grenadian history, culture, and folklore. And that person is no other person but Randy Isaac. Now, Randy Isaac is one of Grenada's highly celebrated veteran calypso and soca artists. He's widely known as the man with the golden voice, as he has had a career in the Caribbean and Grenadian music industry spanning 4 decades. In fact, Randy is celebrating his 40th anniversary this year. We had the pleasure of having Randy on the program last year in the build-up to this year's 40th anniversary celebration. Now, emerging on the scene in 1986, Randy Isaac made his mark on both the groovy and power soca stages. He's a former winner of Grenada's Junior Calypso Monarch competition, as well as the Groovy competition, respectively, and is a multi-time Groovy and Soca and Calypso Monarch contender. Now, over his 40-year career, Randy has released numerous fan-favorite tracks for Spice Mass, including hits like Huja Bless, Land of My Birth, Transform, Salsa, Free South Africa, Old Grenada, so many patriotic songs. And Randy continues to really inspire Grenadians by way of the patriotic music that he has produced over the years. Randy is recognized as a cultural ambassador for Grenada and is celebrated as a living legend within Grenada's vibrant music community. In 2026, the man with the golden voice is celebrating 40 years in the business, and he will be celebrating this legacy with a 40th anniversary concert at the Grenada Trade Center on Saturday, July 4th, 2026. But before he does, Randy joins the Bub Report along with another Grenadian cultural legend, Mr. Leon Charles of Moss International, who was one of Randy's early producers. So, Mr. Charles, if you can turn your camera on, sir, so that we can get this segment started. But Randy, welcome, brother, to this week's edition of the Bub Report. And we made it. We made it to the 40th year. Everyone was excitedly looking forward to this. So congratulations, you made it. And I do have a bell here. I'm going to ring that bell.
Thank you so very much.
On your behalf, my brother.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you for having me. Good morning to the listeners of the Bub Report. You have a very, very, very good show. I listen to it all the time, and you're doing a fantastic job. I want one little thing I want to add. I won the Soca Monarch in 1986, so I'm a Soca Monarch winner also.
1986. Thank you for that. Thank you for that addition. Good.
I'm sorry, 1996.
1996.
Yeah,
and that was with No 6 for 9. Was it No 6 for 9?
Yeah, No 6 for 9, yes.
I remember that. I think it rained that day too, and some people did not treat you too well, but we would not be negative today at all.
No
we would not be negative. But Randy, last year we had a conversation about your start, but we decided to invite to have a conversation about your start here, Mr. Leon Charles of Moss International. Mr. Charles, first and foremost, you're also, sir, a Grenadian legend. But let us talk about Randy's talent from that early age. What did you see in Randy that said to you that there was potential for him? So let's go back from the beginning.
Okay, thanks very much, Kellen, and good morning to you, and good morning to all your viewers and listeners, and thanks for inviting me to be part of the discussion.
Yes.
Randy came to us when we were working with the Calypso Castle. And in fact, the person who introduced him was the singing MC. He came in one day and said, there's this young guy who has a very good song, song's very nice. We think you all should listen to him. So we invited him up to the studio, and I guess the rest is history. What attracted us to him? I think a number of things. One is his ability to sing, because this business is music. And quite a number of our artists don't spend enough time in terms of working on the singing ability, the singing skills, singing in pitch variations, and those kinds of things. And even though at that time he was a junior, somewhere around 15, 16 years old, you could already hear that he had that ability to sing and that awareness to be able to be flexible and to have the variety in terms of what he's doing. So that was the first thing, that he was a good singer. And secondly, his appreciation for performing. He understood that when you got onto the stage, you actually had to deliver the material in a way that people can relate to him. And the song he came with was Free South Africa, which at that time was a very topical issue. And therefore, it was something which resonated very well with the audiences. But he was able to perform the song in a way that really captivated the audience. I mean, there are times he would be doing the song and he would lie down on the stage in military style and those kinds of things to show what he meant by saying military is the answer and so on. So what we saw was an emergent package with the ability to sing, the understanding of the performing, and having a strong song to back him. All were things which were positives in his favor. And we decided that we would invite him to join the tent, which he did. And he stayed with us until the tent was closed up around 1988 or somewhere around there.
Yes, Randy, Calypso Castle, take us back to, I mean, you were very young, you know. Many teenagers, you know, they have other priorities these days. But what was going through your mind as a teenager, you know, going to Calypso Castle with Leon Charles and those guys, and just take us back to that moment.
Going back over the years, growing up as a little boy, going to St. Giles Anglican, I come from a very poor, humble beginning. We didn't have nothing, and I always liked to sing. And when I look at it, I kind of felt that music was the only way to get me out of that poverty. Because I remember growing up and coming home in the morning when I leave, I get fixed saltfish and oil. When I come for lunch, fixed saltfish and oil. When I come for dinner, fixed saltfish and oil. So I wanted to have a little stew chicken and thing. So I know music was the only way, but but I just love to sing. As long as I can remember, I just love to sing. And then my house, there was only two houses close to Monkeyman Waterfall in the bush where I grew up. Because I remember in the early days when you ask me where I'm from, I'll tell you over the river St. Andrews, Grenada, because you have to cross that river to get there. And when they send me to the shop or go to clean under the nutmeg tree or the peas and corn, you would know where I'm at by you hearing me singing. I just love to sing. So when I used to sing in St. Giles when the school end the year, and all little village thing are there, and then I go into the Grenville Calypso competition, junior Calypso competition. I remember one night myself, Teddy, and my stepfather Thomas Peters stay up and wrote that song, and I won. And next year I was making preparation to get ready for Carnival, introduce myself to the Grenadian community, because that was a St. Andrews thing. That was just a little thing in the cinema in Grenville. And teacher Eddie wrote a song called Free South Africa. And I was practicing by the way, and singing MC came and asked me if you want to join a good Calypso tent. And I said, yes, of course. And he brought me to Mars International and the Calypso Castle, and everything, the whole world just opened up for me right there. I mean, I saw everything in a different light. I learned so much being around Leon Charles, Dan Charles, singing MC, Ricky Charles, Guy, Jelino, the whole crew, from the persons who raised in the box to the person who's setting up. Everybody was so. It was like like a family to me, like a father figure to me. Everybody, even the parents and the brothers and sisters of Leon who wasn't part of the band. They treated me so well. So they really helped groom me and make me the person and the artist that I am today.
Mhm. Mr. Charles, there is something special I would say about St. Andrew. I mean, St. Andrew produced a lot of musicians, right? But in particular band, we have Moss International. We know of Moss International, but we also have Rhythm Mix, right? Rhythm Mix is another one. Then there are other cultural groups as well. But let us talk about in the context of discovering young talent like Randy and so on. Who are the other people that you discovered alongside Randy as having musical talent around that time?
Well, we have to backtrack to probably 1977 to answer that question.
Okay.
Because during that period, there were attempts in 1977 to have a St. Andrew's Calypso tent. It was led by one of the government representatives from the area. And they organized a tent in the market square where they brought about 15, 16 Calypsonians, and we were engaged to back up all the Calypsonians. Coming out of that in 77, we realized that two things. One, that there was a lot of talent in the area, but two, it had to be better organized. So we selected the 7 or 8 people whom we thought had the most potential, in answer to your question. And we formed in 78 what we called the Super Tent. We had people like Timpo, Darius, Big Youth, Wedo, Titus, and those guys. So that was the core. And that's the core that we carried forward after the revolution into the Calypso Castle from 1981. And what we did during that period is that we kept the core. We didn't do what traditional people tents did, where they had auditions every year. We would look for good talent, and if we saw good talent, we would bring them in, like MC brought in Randy. And so every year we probably brought in 1 or 2 persons. When Squeezy returned from study, we brought in Squeezy. He was very good, very innovative, very original. There was a young guy called Rooster whom we brought in. So we brought in people with exceptional talent, but we kept the core of the group together. And that way, over time, the quality of what we were doing improved. I must say that we had a structured approach to doing things. Randy spoke about the family-like atmosphere. And that was part of the castle. Everybody was part of the castle, regardless of whether you were lifting the equipment or you were the engineer or you were the singer on the front end. And what we did with the Calypsonians every year is that we asked them to bring in the material around April, May. We would then listen to the material and, if necessary, provide guidance and coaching and mentorship on how to strengthen the material. We would talk about performance on stage, which we Randy spoke about. He learned quite a lot. One of the things we were very firm about was things like your appearance and your presentation, to the point where the tent organized to support the Calypsonians in buying the performing outfits at a time when people would be walking off the street and sing in the other tents. So it's that kind of thing we worked on that helped us to build the quality of what we were doing and present something which even today people speak about with quite a lot of strong positive feedback.
Yeah, so it was not only the music, but that there was a discipline behind it in what I'm hearing what you're saying here.
Yes, a discipline and a structure. We knew what we wanted. For example, even though people wanted to join the tent, we never made the show. We made a number of Calypsonians more than 9. because we didn't want the show to cross 3 hours. You know, we had these structures in place, and everything had to support these structures.
Had to follow that structure.
Yeah, in terms of the MC and MC was very popular, lots of jokes, but the restriction we had on that was that the jokes had to be clean so that people could feel free to bring their families to the show and enjoy the tent. And all that worked, you know, so we were able to get people to come to the shows, bring their families along. You know, the show wasn't going to be too late, but you could get a 3-hour entertainment package. And that kind of way, everybody else's contribution fell in line with what was required to deliver that kind of show.
Absolutely. We are having some internet issues with Randy, because I believe Randy's I believe he's at the Mount Morris breakfast activity. I believe Randy's performing there. But we do have a photo here with Randy and Inspector. Did you ever work with Inspector?
No, I never worked with Inspector, but I must say Randy and Inspector developed a very strong, friendly rivalry, because Randy came on the scene with Free South Africa the year after Inspector came on the scene with Dance. So the two of them competed against each other in Junior Monarch competition that year, in 1986, and Inspector won. But from there on, they became good friends, and the rivalry between them, very friendly rivalry, continued over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Charles, as I have you here, sir, you know, we're going to, you know, fill some time. They're moving, Randy. I understand my producer saying they're moving to a different location, so we will be able to get them shortly. But let us talk about the evolution of the music from the Moss International days. I remember the Moss International song that I remember most fondly. If the campaign didn't pass in the yard, they wouldn't say how my mouth bad. You walk, same damn thing. I remember the lyrics verbatim, you know, and that jab rhythm, you know, that conch shell in the background, you know, there was something very infectious about that, and I still that's one of my go-tos, and it's now a timeless Grenadian classic in so many ways. But let us talk about in the context of Moss International, and how you've seen the evolution of the music from your day to what exists now, especially in the context of that authentic Jambalasi rhythm that Moss International was able to perfect.
Well, again, that brings us back, because Jambalasi did not happen in a vacuum.
Yes.
We were always striving to create a Grenadian song. Let me say that. I don't know how far back you go, but in the 70s is when reggae really became mainstream. In Barbados, we had something called Spooge, and around the mid-70s, soca emerged out of Trinidad and Tobago. So along those lines, we were striving for an authentic Grenadian song. And if you go back to 1978, unfortunately, we lost all the records in the revolution when the radio station was bombed. There was a song called Funtun, which had a rhythm pretty similar to what ended up being Jambalasi's rhythm. Going over the years, we were always very experimental. And I don't know if you're familiar with Squeezy's Road March in 87 to Cock a Hole, which was a second generation.
I remember that song.
Right. And if you listen to the
I may be
rhythm,
young, but I listened to a lot of Calypso and soca on radio. Yes.
So that's the evolution. And coming out of that, we then eventually, when we started working on Jambalasi Rule, adapted from there, brought in the actual authentic jab, beats and emphasis and so on, and it would give us Jambalasi rhythm. So it's the evolution. And if you look at what happened since 1991, I must say I'm pleased to see where Grenadian music has gone, especially on the soca side, because jab is now an established subgenre of soca, and we have people now beginning to experiment with the jab music. Because there was a time I was getting particularly worried that everybody was playing jab with one note and one chord, and it was becoming monotonous. But now we're beginning to hear melodies emerging on it. We're beginning to hear arrangements emerging on it, and we're beginning to hear variations in the rhythm. And where the last crop of jazz music has gone in terms of people like Muddy and so on, playing in stadiums with sports in the United States, etc., is something which I think all Grenadians should be proud of because it establishes the Grenada music as a separate identity on its own from other types of genres. And I think what we have to do now is provide the support and the encouragement so that the artists can keep experimenting. What we have to avoid is getting into a rut where everybody begins to repeat the same thing everybody is doing and it becomes monotonous. Culture is dynamic, there's evolution. And what we have to do now as we move the music forward is to allow for the creative expression of the jab around the basics of the jab rhythm and strengthen the musical accompaniment and arrangements and topics and so on that goes along with it. So short answer to your question is I'm very happy to see where we've gone. It took us a while for the movement to take place, but we had again the evolution from Moss to rhythm mix to Talpri, and then we now get into this young crop who do almost everybody now does one jab song as part of the repertoire, which is something we're very, very happy to see.
Yeah, and rhythm makes another St. Andrew staple as well, Butchgrove, right? Butchgrove area, yes, yes, absolutely. Randy, let's see if we can get you back. I know we're having some internet issues there with you, sir. But are you able to hear us now, Randy? Yes, Randy? I don't think Randy can hear us. Yeah, no, yeah, the internet is really, really poor. So we'll definitely have to reschedule Randy's interview here. But Mr. Charles, very good observation in respect of the evolution. And I think it's so important now. Full disclosure, Ian, Charles, and I went to PBC together. So I know Ian there. But I do think, I don't know for you, but in terms of the preservation of that cultural memory, especially for the young people to have an appreciation, because again, I got in hot water a couple of weeks ago when I said, some of the young folks, they don't necessarily appreciate, the forebearers who went before them, people like Randy, who we are talking about today. But how do we, very importantly, preserve that cultural memory so that, people have a template that they can start with, as opposed to saying, well, these people didn't do anything, we don't know what they did, when there is a repertoire there, the repertoire exists. How then do we ensure that, we can preserve that institutional and cultural memory so that, artists coming in the future, and even Grenadians in general who have to be knowledgeable about their culture and their heritage, would know that, that template exists already? What do we do to ensure that that lives on?
I think there are a couple of things that needs to be done. And we've been discussing it with Ian because Ian is the one who has taken on the mantle of leading in this process. Yeah. First of all, I think we need to clarify and document the underlying narrative of jab, the historical context, and how that context now moves forward into where we are today. I think there was a very interesting commentary by Richard Strong online over the last couple of days. I don't know if you've seen it, talking about how do we preserve the authenticity of the culture while being able to adjust to the modern era. For example, do we still have to use oil oil to paint our skins, even though we know it's a health hazard? Or is there a different way we can get the blackness in? Because the black is what the symbolism is all about, not the oil. And those kind of things. So we need some work in terms of researching the historicity of the jab. And secondly, in then documenting what the essential elements are of the culture. And then that moves across into the music. In terms of the music itself, the music will evolve. I don't think that we need to try to pigeonhole the music into one style. And just as you look at reggae has dancehall, it has lovers rock, it has the hip hop crossover, it evolved into some of the other styles, like with what Third World and all those bands did. There are lots of different subgenres of reggae, but they're all reggae. And I think that's the way we should be encouraging the evolution of the jab music, where different people would have different styles. So the important point would be to document what we're doing. So as you say, somebody coming a couple of years from now would be in a position where they can research it and see where it has started and how it has evolved. So proper documentation and an appreciation for the broader historical context, I think, is where we need to move if we want to have it sustained as a Grenadian cultural form over a period of time.
No, that's very important, because you don't want a situation where somebody said, oh, well, yeah, I produced this song when, no, you didn't, because it's already there. But there was no way for you to know that, because, there was no necessarily cultural memory on that aspect of it. And even in the context of jab, I mean, maybe you would know, but when I think of oil oil, people say that oil oil was historically not used. So it has always been a curiosity to me, when did we transition from oil oil being, I'm not sure if you know the answer to that. Maybe somebody else does.
I don't know, which is why I have
Nobody knows, but because the question is, please go ahead. You were saying something. You suggested
which is why I've suggested to Ian the need for proper documentation and the need for proper research, so we have a definitive narrative. I mean, I have heard Calypsonians on different programs talk about jab and the importance of jab, and they're all saying different things. So we get mixed messages coming in terms of what's the historical importance, what's the cultural significance, and so on. So we need, at this point, I think, to do a proper research, proper documentation, which becomes the baseline for how we move forward with the culture and the music, because the two go hand in hand in terms of one fertilizing the other and helping it to grow and to blossom.
Yeah, no, that's very important, because again, in the 1960s, there were not a lot of cars at such a critical mass to be able to have all of this old oil to play jab, right? In the 1930s and the 1920s, and molasses was the thing. That's where jam molasses comes from, the idea of molasses, right? So that is a curiosity I always have, and maybe someone who's watching the show today can chime in on this in terms of in terms of the oil oil, because that's what I don't get. But let's get to some viewer comments. Someone is saying, hi cuz, this is Philip Jones in Pennsylvania. Congratulations, this is for Randy, on your 40th anniversary in the business. I wish you good health and strength and many more years doing what you do best. And Jambalasi is saying here, that's Ian, he's saying, Inspector recorded his hit Dance in the Country in Moss's studio. That's some history I never knew there. And Lydia is also referencing Timpo. Yes, Timpo as well. I heard that name as well growing up on radio from people like Lou Smith and so on. Lydia is saying, I was on the judging panel in 1996 when Randy won the Soca Monarch. So Lydia, you would have some very good memories of that Soca Monarch. It was a very controversial thing that occurred that year. For whatever reason, I don't know. I mean, I was very young. I was still in high school, but I do remember that there was some controversy over it. Then we have somebody else is saying 6 for 9 in 1996. Yes, 6 for 9 in 1996. Randy, let's see if your connection is a bit poor there, but we will try and, we are still carrying your flag there, brother. We're still going.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a Dax Dabo who's saying 6 for 9 in 1996, just like No Kicks in 86 with Specky there. 6 for 9, 1996.
Yes.
Let's go on. Somebody saying Dr. Jocelyn Peters, big up Randy Isaac. Big up Randy Isaac there.
Thank you.
Yes, let's go. And Randy, just before we came on, your cousin here, That's somebody in Pennsylvania. Philip Jones, he's saying congratulations on your 40th anniversary in the business. He
Thank you
wishes
very
you
much.
good health, strength, and many more years in doing what you do. Yes, so Randy's gone again. Again, is the internet connection there. We have no control over that. Yes, let's go. Somebody saying Randy's music is always deeply loaded content. This is indeed very, very true. Very, very true there on the part there. Yes, Lydia, yes, so it was. You were saying that they were saying that a Jamo should have won in 1996. 1994 was also a very interesting year in Grenadian Dimaskara. That was the year when Black Wizard won for the first time with a comeback again and soca aerobics. People made fun of Wizard for saying that he couldn't dance. But I do remember when he brought, there was one lady from Guava, I believe her name was Banfield. She came in at the end. I don't know if you remember that, Mr. Charles, but I do remember that Wizard performance in 1994. He really attempted to whine for the crown that year there. Lydia Louison. Yeah, yes, Randy, we are hearing you. So we will just continue. Lydia Louison is saying congratulations. Go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to, because the network is giving a little, the internet giving a little problem. So I just want to invite everybody to come out and celebrate with me July 4th at the Grenada Trade Center. It will be a night of music and memory. I have a very, very good cast, an all-star cast, so to speak. We're having Johnny King, Gypsy, Natasha.
There we go. So I'll help Randy with that because I actually do have the flyer that I will be publishing. But Mr. Charles, is there anything else you wish to share before? We would love to have you back, sir. I'm grateful that you accepted our invitation. So thank you again for joining us. But any final comments from you, sir, before we go to the next segment?
Well, thanks very much once again for the invite, and sure, I'll be happy to come back on the program at any time you think feasible. Just want to encourage the young artists to continue doing what they're doing. It's good to hear new ideas. It's good to hear creativity, and so on. And in as much as the young artists could avoid repeating what somebody else has done and do something different, I think it is something that will stand them in good stead. I mean, when we were in Moss, we had one rule that no two songs should sound alike, and no two songs should have pieces that sound like another song. It had to be clean, it had to be original. And I think if we could get that mentality into our upcoming artists, that we have to build, but be original, be different, be creative, I think it will do us a world of good. So wishing everyone successful and a joyful and a safe carnival season. Otherwise, we're just starting, and look forward to hearing the music as it goes along and probably attending some of the shows and so on. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And as Randy's internet challenges continue, we do have the flyer that we will be sharing here concerning Randy's 40th anniversary concert that will be happening there. Mr. Isaac, 4 decades of music and memories. And live from Trinidad will be Gypsy and Johnny King, as well as Natasha Wilson from Grenada, Scholar, Inspector, Black Wizard, Valley Ned, Teacher Eddie. Again, Teacher Eddie is also a legend in Grenadian calypso and soca circles. He's one of the best writers there is, even though he has never won a crown. He is one of the preeminent writers of Grenadian music. And I'm proud to say that Teacher Eddie was also one of my teachers in a primary school in Pomrose. Teacher Eddie will also be performing at Randy's event. Papa Jerry, Squeezy, Kevin Rouget. Wow, I have not heard that name in a long time. Kevin Rouget, he also participated and contributed to soca and calypso in Grenada as well. Then you have Mr. Golden, Dash, and more. So early bird tickets will be $65. Regular tickets, $85. The venue is at the Grenada Trade Center. Start time, 6 p.m. And that's all happening Saturday, July 4th at the Grenada Trade Center. The ticket outlets are York Sneakerwear, that's on Melville Street, also Grenadian Optical, the gotofet.com website, Bogozo Barbershop, and that's in Grenville, as well as Jean Isaac's shop, also in, that's in Hope, St. Andrew. So those are, again, the ticket outlets: York Sneakerwear, Grenadian Optical, the Go-To-Fet site, Bogozo Barbershop in Grenville, and Jean Isaac's shop in Hope, St. Andrew. Early bird, $65, and regular tickets will be $85. And Randy's concert will be backed by the Heatwave Band. The Heatwave Band will be an accompaniment for Randy Isaac's concert. So if you can support Mr. Isaac, Randy Isaac on this milestone anniversary, I think that would be amazing, given all of the work that Randy has done for Grenada by way of its contribution to the cultural map of Grenada. And he's also a cultural ambassador for Grenada as well. So what we want to do, folks, is to take a quick break. And what we want to do is to come back. We're going to play a quick clip with Randy performing back in 1989 with his Free South Africa track there. So please stand by. Somebody's asking, and I would ask that question to him. He's having some streaming difficulties, internet difficulties, but they're asking, please ask Randy if there's any plans to stream the concert. So that is a question I will put to Randy and his team, if there are plans to stream the concert. I think that would be good, perhaps a pay-per-view option might be good, for those of us in the diaspora who would like to support and patronize Randy for all of the amazing work that he has done over the years. So yes, Reese, it is Jasmine Banfield. That's her name, right? Jasmine Banfield. All I knew was her last name, Banfield. But she was famously a part of Wizard's presentation at that 1994 Calypso Monarch victory for another cultural icon for Grenada, the Black Wizard. So folks, what we want to do, we'll take a quick break and come back with going down memory lane with Randy Isaac. Please stand by.
Don't go there.
You are a technocrat. I mean, you can speak to whether or not it was appropriate or inappropriate for that to occur. Would you have done that as a permanent secretary?
Politicians get the information from wherever source that they can.
That's going to be the extent of your answer.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
There's a lot of noise around the data protection bill that, in my respectful view, is not warranted.
I was one of those making noise, and it's simply because I was concerned about that specific section 33.
Don't go there.
Are you going to be offering yourself up as political leader of the party?
I see you've called me have a much more than diplomatic passport. I don't mind that.
Don't go there.
What is the relationship like between you and your leader, Dr. Mitchell, your boss, Dr. Mitchell?
I'm not sure how to explain how to answer this question at this time. I prefer not to answer.
Don't go there.
They said that you approached the bank for the loan before the election and that it only materialized after the election. There are also conflicting reports around the quantity of monies that were received. What is the reality here?
People try to extort the truth and to make all kinds of things about it. I just stay quiet. So if you notice, I was really and truly quiet about the whole matter.
Well, except with not with the New Today newspaper. The New Today newspaper reported on this, so I'm not too sure you were quiet on this. Go ahead, Honorable. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just trying to answer your question, right?
Don't go there.
I think we just spoke at length about the regularization framework. So
yes, we did. But let us talk. Let us talk, Prime Minister. Let us talk about the workers who are dismissed.
The Bob Report. We go there.
Nothing here goes hurt me. I just get confused. All I hear about South Africa is more and more massacre. And the Western powers, they don't make no fuss. Well, if you give patience, some baby just getting worse. So I'm calling on America, South Africa, military in the answer. South Africa, Britain and America, South Africa, military in the answer to stop this massacre. Man down in South Africa, it's a murder. And the question is, why should my people suffer? Why the white minority living in luxury? And the black majority living in poverty? Lord, this thing reminds me of the days of slavery. So I'm calling on America, South Africa, military is the answer. South Africa, and America, South Africa, military is the answer to stop this massacre. I'm appealing to the United Nations. Economic sanctions just wouldn't change the plan of Mr. Buddha and the hooligans. They only killing black people and showing some into prison. So that is why I want you to hear my cry. I'm calling on America, South Africa, military is the answer. South Africa, Britain and America, South Africa, military is the answer to stop this massacre. To all the black people in South Africa, I'm begging you, don't give up this struggle. One day the apartheid system will surely end. The rest of the world is calling on them. And we want to tell you we won't give up this struggle. So I'm calling on America, South Africa, Britain and America, South Africa, military is the answer. South Africa, military is the answer to stop this massacre. And the freedom, free South Africa, free South Africa, stop this massacre. Britain and America, free South Africa, military is the answer. South Africa, military is the answer to stop this Africa. Gather you and me and the Navy. Free South Africa, come together for free South Africa. Free South Africa, oh, South Africa, military is the answer. Africa, military is the answer to stop this massacre. Free South Africa, free South Africa, free South Africa. I said to jail Peter Botha. Free South Africa, free Nelson Mandela. Free South Africa, people try not sing with me. Free South Africa, for the freedom of your black brother. Free South Africa, oi, oi, free South Africa. All of us blacks, don't let them suffer. South Africa, hey, share something. South Africa, military is the answer. South Africa, military is the answer to South Africa. South Africa, thank you everybody, thank you. Free South Africa, free South Africa, free South Africa, free South Africa, South Africa. Free South Africa. Free South Africa. Free South Africa.
Should your loved ones pass on, they deserve to be treated with dignity. And at S.A. Johnson Funeral Home, we can provide you with that service. We can take you every step of the way during your sorrowful moments. When that need arises, call S.A. Johnson Funeral Home at 347-777-9797. That's 347-777-9797. S.A. Johnson Funeral Home is a Caribbean family-owned funeral home here in Brooklyn, providing funeral services, but in a dignified way. From cremation to burial to the repatriation of your loved ones, you don't have to go through the hassle, as we provide exceptional service that allows you to mourn and heal peacefully. For more information, visit our website, www.sajohnsonfuneral.org. Send us an email at sajfuneral@aol.com or call 347-777-9797. S.A. Johnson Funeral Home, because you deserve to be treated with dignity.
And folks, so that takes care of this week's edition of the Bub Report. We're happy that you were able to join us this week. Again, regrettably, we did not get a chance to really delve into a deeper conversation with Randy Isaac because of the internet challenges that he's having. But certainly, we do hope that Randy has a bumper celebration next week there at the Grenada Trade Center in observance of his 40th year of cultural contribution and service by way of calypso and soca and the arts in Grenada. So again, on behalf of our team here at the Bub Report, we want to sincerely congratulate Randy Isaac on his contribution to Grenada and all of those who have worked assiduously over the years to really lift up that person that is Randy Isaac that we know, because fundamentally at the end of the day, it takes a village, and it took people like Mr. Lee and Charles and others and Randy's village really to hone that talent and to discover that talent that Randy had at an early age. So everyone, kudos to everyone who really gave us Randy, and to Randy himself for continuing to deliver great hits year after year for Grenada. So folks, on behalf of the producers of the Bub Report, I am your humble host, Dr. Kellen Bub, wishing you all a very pleasant week ahead, and we'll see you next week for yet another installment of the Bub Report. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. The Bub Report is committed to being fearless, balanced, and independent, bringing you the stories that matter most without compromise. Now do us a favor. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell so you never miss an update. You can also watch us on GBN TV every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Catch us on WPG10 television every Sunday at 8 p.m. Your support helps us to keep journalism free from bias and influence. And together, we can make sure every voice is heard and every fact is verified. Thanks for watching.